Welcome back here. This is always a sad time when we do move into the lower bracket, where we are going to be having two teammates team kill, one of them going home, one of them going to keep going down in the lower bracket. Of course, we are going to have Bomber versus Squirtle. What are your thoughts on this matchup, man?
Well, I mean, it's always really interesting when you have two teammates going up against each other because they just know each other so well. They know each other's build orders. They know each other's styles. So oftentimes, you'll see them throw out some really crazy builds that the other player hasn't seen before.
Yeah, and it almost doesn't make sense when you're casting. You're like, why would you do that? And then we think that they're playing against themselves, of course, practicing so much. They've never really met in, in the professional scene before, in the GSL or anything like this. But the amount of games they play together, even though not on record, is going to be in just 4 or 5 digits big, man.
Yeah,
These
absolutely.
guys play a lot.
They haven't played any official matches against one another, but certainly, I mean, being on the same team, having played hundreds, maybe even thousands of practice games, and we'll just have to see what kind of builds they're going to throw at one another.
And just like these guys head to head, you could almost say that Bomber is a little bit more favored. He is pretty good against Protoss, and on the other hand, Squirtle has had difficulties, but Squirtle did go scout, but as we do see both of these guys head-to-head stats, 58% for Squirtle against Terran, 62 for Bomber against, well, overall record that is, 61% against Protoss, 50% a low record against Terran, hit or miss. Talking about hit or miss though, that is Bomber, man. Really is hit or miss.
Does have a major advantage as far as his win rate on Metropolis, boasting a 75% win rate, whereas Bomber only posting a 33% win rate on Metropolis.
Yeah, I think this really is a reason because of the map. It's a very large map. It's very difficult for that aggressive Terran play to be deployed here because of the walking distances between bases, and it's very easy for a Protoss player to sit back on that third base. I mean, we saw Nestea play exactly that against Pol. The problem is, though, even though it is a big map, it is also very hard for Protoss to spread across those 3 bases, making sure he doesn't allow that 10-second window where Terran can run in, stim, snipe the Nexus, and get out of there. So we'll have to see how this is going to go down, man.
Yeah, absolutely. That's very true. There's so many different avenues of approach for the Terran player to try. We'll just have to see if Squirtle can repel all of those attacks, and that's really Squirtle's style. He loves to sit back, absorb what's thrown at him, and he's just a very solid macro Protoss.
And Squirtle hasn't played against any Terran players in this tournament, did play against Marine King last night in the GSTL. Bomber, though, has gone through the group stages, playing TVT mostly. Also, Idra was in that group, but has been playing his strongest matchup basically to get to where he is now. Did drop 0-2 versus Stefano. Now is looking, can he get his consistency nailed down? Because that's the biggest problem with this guy right there, is that he is really hit or miss. One day he'll win MLG for you, the next day he gets knocked down into Code A.
Very true. Squirtle is definitely a streaky Protoss player, and we'll just have to see if he can get hot right now. This is a very, very important match for him, obviously. Tournament life is on the line here for both of these players, and looks like we've got them both in the game here, and they are just about ready to go.
And remember, for every stage, for every round these guys surpass, now the money increases. Not just that you're getting close to that 40,000, but it's like $500 here, $1,000 here, then $2,000 here, and it really does start to, increase rapidly. So both of these guys fighting for pride, Korean pride, of course. Every Korean in this bracket, and I was talking to the guys backstage, they want their chance to play against Stefano. Bomber, of course, wants his revenge, wants to go all the way back up there. We'll find out how this is going to go down. Who will advance through? Teammate, always a sad sight, fighting against each other. Best of 3. Starting map is going to be Metropolis.
Take it away.
Squirtle looking very focused there as we load into the map here. And of course, we do have down in the bottom left, none other than Bomber Bomber is, oh, actually, I've got to do this Korean thing, right? I've never done this before. Is it like that thing? Oh, no, it's a GSTL. Never mind. All right, so I guess that's Bomber in the bottom left. And, of course, in the top right, we are going to have StarTale Squirtle. Squirtle is, I really think that he is going to struggle in this matchup, man. You know, he's not the most comfortable against Terran players, even though he did manage to beat Puma. Of course, there is Squirtle. Do you think that he has what it takes to beat such a fantastic, aggressive player like Bomber?
I mean, I certainly think he can take a series off him. There's no doubt about that. But, I mean, you're absolutely right. Bomber, a player that is just capable of going on insane hot streaks. And his TVP is excellent. His macro's excellent. He loves dropping. He loves feigning attacks, pulling the Protoss army towards the main and hitting the third at the same time, trying to snipe a Nexus. So, really, I think it's just going to come down to how well Squirtle can maintain his position with his 3 bases.
And of course, this map does favor the more one barracks expansion play. Sometimes you do see the gas get added on just for the reason of the, yeah, they are close by air, and that sometimes will happen here, and you can get away with Cloak Banshee and any form of aggression here. 1-1-1 not necessarily used here because of the distances between bases. The probe is coming down now to scout. No gas has been taken for Bomber, so it is going to be a very standard one barracks expand, of course.
Yeah, nothing out of the ordinary just yet, and he does get that second depot. I really love it when players do this. Denies any kind of scouting information for Squirtle, and really just what's important here is he's denying Squirtle access to the gas. Squirtle will not know if he's doing a gasless opener or if he's potentially doing maybe something like a 1-1-1 or some form of an all-in. So just keeping his opponent in the dark there and leaving Squirtle with a little bit of air of uncertainty in his head.
Yeah, and that's the real difficult thing with Protoss, is it's so difficult to scout. You know, unlike Protoss versus Zerg, well, unfortunately for Squirtle on that last game, but it is a lot more easier, you know, sending out Zealots, you know, sending out the probe, of course, but in this matchup here, it is so difficult, but we do see a second gas going down incredibly early here, even before a Zealot comes out. One advantage, of course, the Bomber's going to be able to have is just to go in there and straight away see it, but this opens up now a lot of different tech paths here for Squirtle, whether it be just a very simple sentry expand, whether he's, you know, going to tech immediately into robotics facility, whether it's a 3-gate pressure, anything along these lines, but Bomber does now know about that, which of course the most important thing in the world.
Yeah, I got that full scout right there, always awesome, and interesting choice of positioning on the command center here from Bomber. It's actually quite far away from the natural. He didn't even attempt to put it close to the natural above the ramp, and I'm not really sure on the positioning there. Maybe he's, that's exactly what I was considering. Maybe he's gonna just drop another command center there and then float one over because, you know, why put the command center there unless you plan on having a macro orbital in base for quite some time?
How did this SCV get back in there? I was actually watching what Legend was looking at, and I have no idea, but that's really crucial there for Bomber, who sees that the guys were taking out a gas, so he's like, all right, fine, if you're gonna do that, great, because I've got 3 command centers. I now know you're not teching up, you're not going to be aggressive against me, and can clearly piece the puzzle together. There is that Nexus down there, even without scouting it. There is, of course, the 2nd and 3rd gate coming down here. Does still have a lot of gas banked up, but remember the uncertainty you talked about. He has still no idea whether this is a 1-1-1, whether it is a Cloak Banshee, whether it is 2-3 racks behind this. So Bomber just, you know, really taken that thought process of Squirtle and just throwing it out the window and saying, no, I've actually got 3 command centers.
Very true, and that's why I'm a huge proponent of dropping that 2nd depot and completing the wall. I mean, it's only 100 resources, and it really just changes the dynamics so much. It prevents very, very important scouting from the Protoss player. Now, we do have a double barracks follow-up here, so he went into 3 racks and then immediately grabbed his double gas. So it looks like we are going to see some bio here, and oh, it looks like that probe does sneak in there. Does it get sight of the command center? Yes, I believe it does. So yeah, he does know about that command center.
So he's going to be able to just realize what's happened here. He knows now that Bomber tried to trick him a little bit. So he's quite happy just to continue chrono wishing onto the Nexus, for example, here. Does still want to take map controls. We see with the Stalker in the center of the map, controlling that Xelnog tower, just in case, you know, that little cute push we see Terran players do with the 16, you know, 14, 16 Marines come out. But look at that advantage already in the minerals. We see Bomber taking that. Bomber is weak right now. You know, we're not going to lie, he's very weak at this stage, but the longer this game goes on, the more power he's going to get. The SCV count, he's basically going to be able to saturate these two bases so incredibly fast, which will open up double engineering bay, which will open up those medivacs to come out. And there's the first engineering bay coming down. Whether he'll, you know, decide to throw the second one down and delay the starport and so on, or whether he'll just go straight into the factory very shortly here.
Well, I mean, there's really no semblance of pressure coming from Squirtle right now, so Bomber has to feel very safe, very secure. He may drop that second engineering bay. Right now, he is getting stim. It is about 20% of the way done, so he's not going to be able to do anything offensive for quite some time, but we do have a robotics bay going down for Squirtle, as well as a double forge.
I think that Squirtle knows exactly what's going on, even without seeing it. I think he knows at the time of that expansion, and he, you know, also the knowledge of being teammates, that there is a third command center. He's now going to get the confirmation with the observer that goes in, sees it, and I think that his decision making, based on what he hadn't seen but what he knows about Bomber, is absolutely fantastic. Going for Colossus play against this style is so amazing, because usually, like we talked about, we do see double engineering bay come down, and if that happens, that's gas taken away from the factory, taken away from Starport, and of course the Vikings coming out, and this is going to be a very, very nice punch.
Yeah, I mean, that's very true. Gas expended on the engineering bay will delay those Vikings from coming out, and a push with Colossus could be devastating. Now, no Raxes have been added just yet for Bomber. He's actually just sitting on 3 right now. There is the factory, so he's going to get a starport after that and start getting those medevacs out immediately. Conversely, we do have Bomber adding additional gateways here, 3 more gateways on the way, but you know what I see becoming a serious problem, Sean? We have the double forge chronoing upgrades right now, and we're only working off of a single engineering bay for Bomber for the time being. Second engineering bay is going to come up, but a little bit later. So as those upgrades continue to be chrono boosted, it could be a compounding effect if Bomber isn't able to keep up.
And we do see that Observer actually sees, you know, the double engineering bay and the armory coming down, and he knows about the factory and starport too, so he actually has every piece of information he needs in this game. Now what is he going to switch over that chrono boost into? Whether it'll be into the Colossus, which it is. So like you just said, he's now, upon seeing that the starport's out there faster, he's like, okay, let's get the Colossus out now, and he is ramping that production up. Twilight Council will be coming down shortly, I suppose, to continue with these, but he could very much so open up this 2 base. There's the pylon down at the south side of this map as well, which he can use here. 47 probes there showing us that he's stopped probe production. I don't even think we're going to see a Twilight Council come down. He's literally just going to go for this 1-1 Thermal Lance triple Colossus push, which actually could catch Bomber way, way off guard.
Yeah, that's definitely a possibility. And I mean, it's interesting that both of these players are playing a very tight, very safe game. Generally, we will see players take a very early third on Metropolis. Neither player has attempted to take their third yet, so except Bomber floated that CC down just a little bit ago, so he is establishing his third first. Yeah. He will get a huge advantage in economy, but oh, he doesn't know about his forces.
This
Squirtle
could be so dangerous in the center here if he gets his force fields down. The Colossus, there's no anti-Colossus. Everything is going to go down here.
Oh,
and oh my God, the plan
Sean.
has been revealed now. Vikings trying to come out here, Pain User, but that's so late.
That
3
is
additional barriers coming down, but oh my God.
That is just devastating as a Terran player when you move out with your first squad and it just gets absolutely crushed. He's going to have to pull SCVs off the line here. Here comes Bomber. He's going to try and hold, but Squirtle has the 3 Colossus, and Apollo, you called it. The ranged triple Colossus push right with the +1/+1 is just devastating Bomber.
There is 4 Marauders coming from the backside, but he does move his Colossus out of the way. 1 does go down. There's no units here.
Not a chance.
GG from Bomber. And, well, if I was going to say one mistake in that game from Bomber, please, please, please scout. He had no knowledge of a third base. He had no knowledge of double forge into Zealot Archon, Colossus play, and that was a big, big mistake from there. Just playing his own game rather than playing his opponent. And we talked about how important teammate versus teammate is, that things do become awkward and different here. That's a big, big mistake there from Bomber.
Yeah, I mean, if he had been able to get perhaps a choice scan or maybe even lift a barracks or a factory and get in there, I mean, you can't play with that much imperfect information. At some point, you have to figure out what your opponent is up to. And he was absolutely playing in the dark there. And I feel that push just totally caught him off guard when he was moving through the midfield. I mean, he had no idea that those Colossus and the rest of the Protoss units were moving across the map.
I mean, I bet Squirtle, upon seeing those units in the center, was like, free win.
Pretty much. I mean, and Bomber's response, I'm not sure why he tried to fight that battle in mid. I mean, as soon as you see a Protoss ball there with the 3 Colossus, the range, the +1/+1, and you just have a spattering of bio with no medevacs, no Vikings, you should immediately realize that is a no-win situation. You need to back up, make more bunkers, attempt to get some Vikings out, but he opted to fight in the midfield and just ended up losing everything.
That's so devastating for Bomber. So guys, we're going to go to a quick commercial break, and then we will be back with game number 2 here, of course, between Bomber and Squirtle.